In the first half of the 20th century, streamlining was all the craze. It was especially common on cars and trains between the mid-30s and 50s. A ton of famous streamliners made their debut during this time, like the 20th Century Limited owned by New York Central, the Hiawatha by Milwaukee Road, and the Royal Blue by B&O. The New York, Susquehanna and Western Railroad, known as the Suzy Q, was experimenting with carrying both passengers and freight on its lines at the time. By the late 1940s, the very first diesel railcar, or Bud RDC, was rolled out from Chicago's Union Station, and it became an instant success. However, the Suzy Q experimented with self-propelled railcars far before Bud did. In 1899, a company called ACF was founded, which stood for American Car and Foundry Company. ACF formed as a merged company of 13 smaller companies that focused on car manufacturing. ACF specialized in manufacturing railroad equipment like freight cars and later passenger cars. In 1904, ACF built the world's first all-steel passenger car for NTA's IRT, or Interborough Rapid Transit, in New York City. This railcar is known as the Low V, I think, and was primarily seen on New York City's elevated train lines. ACF built widely used freight cars, including covered hoppers for hauling such cargo as corn and other grains. One of the largest customers was the Union Pacific Railroad, whose armor yellow carbon steel lightweight passenger car rolling stock was mostly built by ACF. The famous dome observation car called Native Son was an ACF product. Bet you didn't know that. The Suzy Q was reportedly America's first Class 1 railroad to fully dieselize, withdrawing every steam locomotives from service in 1945. They exclusively used Alcos for freight and commuter operations until they were replaced by EMDs in the mid-1970s. In 1935, ACF built equipment for a famous streamlined train called the Eagle, owned by Missouri Pacific, along with its very own streamlined train called the Eagle Motorliner, or sometimes called the Eaglet, for the Missouri Pacific Railroad. Both trains made their debut in 1942. In appearance, it was streamlined and basically resembled something of a modern version of a doodlebug. With operational controls at both ends, it could run in both directions just like a streetcar. Power was provided by a pair of 210 horsepower Waukesha Hasselman engines, and according to J.S. Weller of the Waukesha Engine Division, there were 3 or 4 different 4-cylinder engines used in the railcar. Also, in 1935, the ACFs got their very own entire streamlined train set called the Rebel, owned by the Gulf Mobile and Northern Railway from 1940 to 1958. It operated between New Orleans, Louisiana, and Jackson, Tennessee. They were instead used with 600 horsepower 6-cylinder prime movers rather than the 4-cylinders. While the original Rebel served New Orleans and Jackson, after the merger of the GM&N and Mobile and Ohio to create the Gulf Mobile and Ohio Railroad in 1942, the train's route was extended to St. Louis. At this time, it was converted to full-size equipment hauled by Alco DL-105 locomotives, which were also styled by Otto Kohler. The power cars were then scrapped by 1962. Being much more than a doodlebug, the self-propelled railcar called the motor railer were a big change from the noisy, smoky, brutish-looking gas-electric cars that many passengers were familiar with. The American Car and Foundry motor railers incorporated the latest in streamlining, had comfortable, visually attractive and air-conditioning interiors, and were propelled with low compression, electrical ignition, diesel power with smooth shifting, a torque converter, and transmissions. The rail cars had really good performance for what they are. They had 3 to 4 210 horsepower 4-cylinder diesel engines, which added up between 630 and 840 horsepower, and had a maximum reachable speed of 87 miles per hour, but were limited to 60 miles per hour during their service. Looking to cut costs, the court-appointed trustee of the railroad, Walter Kidd, or however you say it, ordered ACF motor railers number 1001 and 1002. Seeing the success of the motor railers, 4 more were bought secondhand from the Illinois Central Railroad, numbered between 1003 and 1006. In total, 6 ACF motor railers were purchased on the Suzy Q. They were bidirectional, semi-permanently coupled 2-car sets. On January 20th, 1946, numbered 1001, caught fire at Passaic Junction Station and was completely destroyed, leaving 5 left in service until the 1960s, when all of them were scrapped. Except for one. Most have met their ultimate fate at the scrappers, but there are still a few who escaped time. Motorailer number 157, listed as ex-Norfolk Southern, is stored in Cuba, of all places. And reportedly, you can ride a modified version of the ACF motorailers powered by modified Baldwin engines on Colombia's last remaining steam-powered passenger routes in the mountainous Bogota area. The Pullman and ACF built cars were among the notable manufacturers of these streamlined rail cars. However, it is worth mentioning that the Pullman and ACF built cars faced some challenges such as severe maintenance issues. Despite this, they were still widely used and played a significant role in the development of the passenger rail travel during that time. Most people don't know about ACF's huge role in American passenger rail history, so in this video, I told the story of ACF's role in the passenger rail history with a solid example of their streamlining style, a forgotten diesel railcar that just happened to be owned by one of my local railways. Thanks for watching another brief history video. Remember to like and subscribe for more future content coming your way. Thanks for watching everyone, and have a great day. Peace.